Okay. Um, so Kavitha Krishnamurthy Subramanyam and Dr. Subramanyam, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you so much, and namaste to all our listeners on your FM Rainbow.
Okay. You both have engagements in Mumbai and in cities all over the world, yet you've chosen to make Bangalore your home.
Basically, we have been traveling quite a bit. So, in '96, when I went to different cities, the weather and everything, my children loved Bangalore, and I also like Bangalore.
Okay.
So, finally, we decided let us have a base in Bangalore and travel from here. And so they joined the school here, and that's how we came to Bangalore and start living in Bangalore.
Okay. So far you've liked it?
Yeah, we love Bangalore. It's,
very nice.
weather is beautiful. It's very cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
Musically,
Kind of laid back and quiet. I like it.
Okay.
this
okay.
area where we are, it's pretty quiet, and also a lot of activities are there for the artistic, cultural things. A lot more are happening nowadays compared to 10 years back or so.
Right.
So that way, it's culturally very active, and everybody knows, IT industry is one of the strong here, and
Right.
very, very cosmopolitan. Yet, stress in culture is not gone.
Okay. Okay. What projects are you both currently involved in?
As for me, apart from singing for movies, which is one part of my life, I have been also performing in some concerts with my husband, which it's kind of fusion music.
Mhm.
And apart from that, he's working on an album for me, which we should have completed earlier, but because of our work schedules, we're not able to complete it. But so he's working on a Hindi album for me.
Uh-huh.
Songs written by different people like Sameer and Javed Saab and all of them,
Mm-hmm.
and sung by different. Along with me, there are other male singers like Harihar and Pandit Jasraj, quite a few people. So that album, we are hoping somehow we wanted to complete it this year because it's been lagging behind.
Okay.
That and yeah, okay. Apart from singing from movies, which is one part of my life, I am also, my husband is working on a Hindi album for me, which we should have completed earlier, but because of our work schedules, we haven't been able to do it. But this year, somehow, we had got we've set ourselves a target that somehow we should finish doing it this year. It's got many talented writers in it and very, very talented singers also singing with me in this particular album. So that is one album that I'm working on, and I'll probably also do a ghazal project this year.
Okay.
Apart from singing with my husband for his fusion programs and things like that.
Okay.
And as far as his schedule is concerned, I'll give it, I'll ask him to tell you himself.
I'm scheduled to go to US and Russia. Middle of September, I'm in Singapore, have some music related things there. Then I go to US and Moscow for the India Festival closing to perform October 4th.
Okay.
Then I go to Europe from there and reunion. Supposed to perform in Spain and France in October, and also I'm going to reunion in Little Island.
All of it before the end of this year?
Before end of October.
October.
God. And I'll be back here early November because I'm performing here in November. And in between I'm playing here also. One day in October I'm coming back to perform. On the October 9th I'm coming back. I think from Moscow I arrive on the 8th, play 9th, leave on the 10th.
Okay.
But my long-term dream is to set up an institute in my father's name.
Right.
Lakshmi Narayana Global Institute.
Mm-hmm.
For which we are trying to get some like the 4-5 acres land so I can set up a very powerful global institute.
And that will be in Bangalore?
I like to do it in Bangalore, but so far, we have not been able to acquire land of that for cultural activities so far.
Okay.
So, whereas some other states have offered already, but I'm just hoping and waiting so that it will happen in Bangalore because I don't want to leave Bangalore, basically.
Right. Okay. And so what will this institute
It will
do?
be a cultural institute where we will teach music
Mm-hmm.
and basically dance and music and anything to do, not only Indian music, but also a lot of foreign artists, famous artists are willing to come and give their time for workshops and master classes.
Okay, fantastic.
And almost like a global, holistic approach to music. So where somebody is not just learning one,
Right.
but they'll be culturally oriented towards different arts form.
Okay. So what better person to do that?
Kind of you to say that. We're hoping that dream will come true. Both of us are working on that.
Okay, okay. You've both considered careers in other fields. Dr. Subramanyam, you completed your MBBS, and Kavitha, you wanted to join the Indian Foreign Service. But here you are incredibly successful people in music with successful careers in music. How did you come to choose music as your field?
In my case, what really happened was this Indian Foreign Service dream was till I finished school. And since I was in Delhi and my father was in government service, so writing an IAS exam and IFS was the first thing that came into my mind. And IFS because I thought I would get exotic postings all around the world. So that was the main idea actually. But then when I joined college in Bombay, in St. Xavier's Bombay, and I actually majored in economics, which is very far away from music. But what happened was my college had a very, very active music circle. And I started performing in college, and then we would invite all these singers like Hemant Kumarji and Mukeshji, all of them to come to college and perform. And they all heard me and they wanted me to join them on stage for concerts. So slowly, and I also started singing a lot of commercials, like, Nirma and all these things like that. So one thing led to another, and by the time I finished college, I truly realized that I was very passionate about music, and I really, really loved it, and I would like to spend my time with music rather than anything else.
Okay.
And it was only when I finished college and I started really traveling a lot for concerts all over the world and slowly singing a little bit for here and there for films that I realized that that's the career I wanted.
Okay.
Therefore the change.
Okay.
I just tell him, I give it.
But so the music got you the exotic locations anyway.
It got me all the more than I dreamt about, I mean, I've seen places which I cannot even believe that I've had a chance to go and to perform to Indians, starting from, let's say, Fiji to Trinidad, all fantastic listeners, and never dreamt I would be able to reach such a wide cross-section of Indians all over the world.
Great.
So it's really been a great life.
Great.
Well, my father was a musician. He was a violinist.
Right.
Probably he is responsible solely for this violin to become a solo instrument because of his vision and technical development and things. So in our house, everybody had to learn music. My father was under the impression if you don't know music, you're not a complete human being. He said, culture has to be there. So he said, whatever you want to study, you study, but still you have to learn music. And there was a point, the music was also those days, basically violin was an accompanying instrument. So people were not, able to, not everybody was able to make a comfortable living playing violin. So with all this in mind, my parents said, you also have a degree. And I love science. So I said, I'll try and become a medical doctor. That way, I can just practice whenever I want, and rest of the time I can play music. So with that idea, I went to medical college. But during second year, I made up my mind saying that I want to, yes, full-time become a violinist. So then my mother said, you can't drop out. You finish your MBBS. After getting the certificate, you do whatever you want. So I just finished that and then went abroad to do my master's in music, which was totally different field.
Right.
And then onwards continued music.
Okay. And you haven't regretted it, and neither have your fans, I'm sure.
Well, I'm very happy. This is what I wanted to do. In any case, I want to be like my father, playing music all the time.
Right.
Plus, I think the immense inner satisfaction and pleasure and state of mind you get through when I play my violin for myself or my compositions, I can't replace it with anything else.
Great. Your careers are very diverse, in the sense that, Kavitha's career has grown in the movie industry, whereas Dr. Subramanyam's career is in classical music and world music. Do you both actively try to find opportunities to work together, or do they just come about? How do the opportunities come up?
We have quite a few opportunities which people approach us to do projects together, like albums together. For example, for this Olympic Flame, when it was brought to India,
Right.
I was approached to write a theme song with Kavitha singing.
Okay.
Or when we went to Norway, when they did this 100th year of
Nobel
Nobel
Prize,
thing,
yeah.
they want us to do something together.
Right.
When they opened the library in Alexandria, they wanted us to. So people have been approaching us. So we selectively take only few things because we both have our own active careers.
Right.
She has a lot of other things to do, and I have a lot of composition. Next year, premiering a orchestral composition which has been commissioned with 100 Chinese instrument.
Oh.
And so that's one of the reasons I'm going in a few days to Singapore to check the instrument and rehearse. So we both have our active orchestra. I have orchestral appearances. She also has her own concerts and singing in films. Plus, we have our own global fusion projects, things like that. So we selectively, we select things which we can't take everything which is coming across because of our time schedule.
Right. Okay. So when you do find these opportunities, how is it working together in your professional lives as husband and wife?
For me, it's really fantastic when I sing for him, because I have sung for a lot of varied music directors in the industry, sung a lot of film songs. Now that's really a different compartment for me.
Right.
When I sing for him, I know his approach is not from the point of a film song. So there is always something very different. And because he's quite an, what should I say, he's one of the founder people in the fusion movements.
Right.
His whole approach to music is rather different, a little classical and little, with a lot of international elements in his singing, in his music. So when I have to sing for him, I'm really on my toes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really on my toes because I don't know what to expect. If he says, okay, come, you have to sing something, I really don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with a certain film music director, I know their styles. Each one, I know their styles, and I know before entering the studio what I can expect from them. Not that I'm saying that I can read their minds, but to a certain extent, I'm aware of the styles. In his case, he might ask me to record a very, very typical traditional tilana with a modern flavor, or it can be just an alap form for a fusion album, or like my Hindi album, a song, a kind of a song, but with a lot of harmonic changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what to expect from him when he calls me to sing. And these surprises, I think, make life very exciting for me as a singer.
Mm-hmm.
And also he's a very, very peaceful person. When he's recording, even I can take 1 hour to do a line or half an hour to do a line, or if I'm not in a mood to sing that day, he will relax and say, okay, let's do it some other time if you can.
Mm-hmm.
So he's very, very, very peaceful in his approach to music. And that's a quality I admire a lot, peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
I admire that
yeah.
a lot in him because he's very, very calm and
Yeah.
in his general approach to life, and in music, definitely he's a very peaceful person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean a lot more rehearsals before you're ready to go on air or ready
not
to?
really, not rehearsals as such. He might teach it to me on the sets, and sometimes when he's composing, he might ask me to sit next to him and say, how does it sound to you? And just I keep listening to him doing it, and then he'll bring some changes. Sometimes, I mean, even when he's working, like on a Malayalam film project he worked,
Mm-hmm.
I was there with him, and I keep teasing him, saying, I'm your assistant, I'm your assistant, I'm your unpaid assistant. I laugh at him. So these kind of things happen, but because, we are part of each other, therefore there's a very relaxed way of working for me with him.
Great.
There's absolutely no tensions about anything at all.
Okay.
Except for the fact that when I'm on stage with him, I'm very nervous because, as when he starts improvising on the violin, then he leaves me behind miles away. That's the only thing I can say.
So you do that on the stage, is it? Throw her curveball, as they say?
No.
He's such a master of
Right.
improvisation. It takes ages to arrive at that standard. He's done years and years of hard work.
Absolutely.
Probably he's done 12 hours, 13 hours of practice a day. So only when you work like that,
Yeah.
and I must confess the truth, I haven't worked like that. So he's a master of improvisation, definitely.
Okay. So how do you find working with your wife at a professional level?
She has sung thousands of songs with different people, with different emotions, different technicalities. So she has such an experience. So whatever it is in your mind, you're able to get it in a rendering. When you work with certain people, they are very, very comfortable in certain range, certain style, certain types of songs. So if you do anything different, then you may not get the results what you're looking for.
Right.
There has to be some compromise somewhere where, we have to be satisfied with this.
Right.
Or, we will lose the essence of everything else. So that way, for me, I'm mentally free to do whatever I want as a composer if I'm writing. And I know I can get it. So like I did a song for the Global Fusion album. It was the first time after listening to a lot of tapes I selected her voice at that time. So I mean friends gave me like a whole bunch of tapes. I arrived from US listening to different tapes. To finally listening to that voice and that fluctuation, that tonality, I realized that no, she will be able to sing whatever I'm expecting.
Okay.
And that song, like Gypsy Trail, became one of the most popular songs because I was able to get what I wanted to get. Otherwise, with some of the other singers, they are great singers all over the place. Fantastic experience. But everybody has certain style and comfortable with certain things. So when you put it in that box, they are superb.
Right.
But when you want to do something different, original, or something different than what they are used to doing it sometimes you may not get what exactly you want. So that way I'm very comfortable. Anything I want to do, I'm blindly write something, blindly do something, so that I know I'll get it, what I want to get.
Okay, that's great. When you are each working on separate projects, when you're not working together on something, do you ask for input from the other, like when you're singing for a movie, for example? Or, how husbands and wives are?
No, not really. When I'm singing for a movie, and if he comes for the recording, because we are together at the moment, and it's easier for him to be with me, and like especially if I'm recording in London and he's there with me in the studio, and we go back home together after that. He makes it a point to sit outside with a magazine or a newspaper, and he won't just, because he says it's another music director and you're the singer, and it's not my job to interfere. You know best. So he never opens his mouth at all. He just sits there at a distance. Later on, when I'm going in the car, I'll ask him, was I okay? What do you think of the song? Then he might give his frank opinions on what he thought, but he'll never ever interfere.
Okay.
But when he even plays for a concert, initially after marriage, I would once in a while say, would you like to play this for the concert? Why don't you play this raga or something? Once in a while he would. Sometimes he wouldn't. Later on I realized that when he actually sits on stage to play a concert, he doesn't like to decide what he wants to play beforehand, because he feels the spontaneity of the moment will go away. So he plays at that moment when he sits and picks up the violin. He has an instinct that this is what I'd like to play, and he plays. So normally I don't bother him with these requests. If he's playing a classical concert, I let him be, and I let him, with his experience and backlog, he knows best what the audience wants. Or when you're playing a raga, you must play a raga that you want to play. That's so important,
Yeah.
So not really.
Yeah. It's fine. Sure. ನೀವು ಇಟ್ಕೋತೀರಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ವಾ? Your schedules are extremely busy, as you've been describing. So what does a typical day look like? Or should I ask, what does a typical week look like in your lives?
When I'm in town, it's like we get guests coming at any time of the day, which normally we try to encourage people to have, pre-decided appointments so that they don't have to wait also. Sometimes I get like today we got some people in the morning, so we get 5-6 people. So one by one we try to find out what it is regarding, or if we have invited some people on time to finish that. Sometimes when they arrive, the next person who is already scheduled to come, and they get delayed, they have to wait because all these things goes on. Plus our own personal things, since we are constructing the house now, that's also another thing I'm trying to take off. But my own studio work, my own project, everything, I end up doing late night. So by the time I go to bed, it is 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock at night. Irrespective of whatever time I go to bed, I have to get up in the morning. Because normally I like to get up and see the children off to go to school. So day pretty much, takes its own turn. So whatever we plan, it never works out that way when we are in town. At least when we are outside, we go to a town, we have to go on to do a sound check. Sometimes, they ask us to do some press conference or some press people to interview us before the concert. So that's all slotted.
Okay.
And before the concert, I like to be alone so that I can be mentally peaceful and free, not, pressurized with whatever it is. But at home, we are not able to do that. So we get up and just days goes by. By the time I go to bed, it becomes 2 and 3 in the morning.
Wow. Yeah. And we were discussing what a typical day or a week looks like in your lives.
Oh my God. God. Typical day in our lives is total bedlam and chaos. Because as I told you, we don't know what tomorrow holds for us. For both of us, it's like that. And also sometimes I might suddenly get a call this evening saying, Kavitha ji, there's an important song, can you come to Bombay? So immediately I'll take a flight tomorrow morning, the next morning, and push off and come back the same night or after 2 days. So somehow because we sleep very late, and we eat very late because of all these schedules, our children are also getting into that routine. They'll wait, even if you're eating at 12 o'clock, they'll keep on waiting and they'll eat at 12 and they also get up. And then morning there's a tornado because they've all overslept and they're all rushing to school. And then so this is like a breathless day in our lives, every day of our life. Normally it's like really, really, we have no schedule, no schedule to eat, no schedule to sleep, no schedule to plan. And another thing about my husband, I must tell you, is that he sometimes really, every day of his life, he sometimes works on instinct or his heart. Little less of the head, more of the heart and the instinct. So suddenly in the morning he'll say, I've decided we haven't been to Mukambike for a long time and we have to see the Devi. I don't know what you children are going to do, but day after tomorrow we all have to leave for Mukambike. I'll say, look, no. He says, then we'll say, okay, it's his instinct. We better do what he's saying. So he's very unpredictable sometimes. So that's how our lives are at the moment.
So do you ever take a vacation? If you do,
We have been planning for it for
no vacation, no. If you call going for a concert and then staying for one day to say that the children want to shop or I want to do something, and out of which half days goes meetings because everybody wants to meet Dr. Subramanyam after the concert. So that one day, then 7 o'clock as the shops are closing, for 20 minutes we might just walk into a mall and come out. So those are the holidays we've had.
It'll change.
He's promising us a holiday next year.
Next year, hopefully, I'm planning to
1 month holiday.
we are planning to have lesser appearances next year. Honestly.
Okay.
Not make that many appearances.
Summer, yes.
Okay. So that is my next question was, do you do anything special to ensure that you spend time together as a family? So
That's what we are planning. Because you know what has happened, whatever time we have allotted, because of pressure through friends or through some government projects come, so we try to accommodate and fit in so that we don't disappoint or do things. But that has become now, it's a big problem for us, because children also feel, they are not able to spend enough time with us because of our schedule, and whenever they are with us, it's basically they perform with us. So they have their own pressure also. It's not like a holiday, they're coming and sitting and going sightseeing.
yeah.
So they all come, Sita sings with Kavitha, Raju tried to sing with Kavitha. So before the concert, they are also under tension. My son plays with me, Ambi. So him also, before the concert, it's a tension for him. Or at least that thing of that, we have to perform well.
And also I would say that the children, basically without our prompting them, one good thing all the 3 children have is that they really want to do well in their academics. They never say, Appa, this is enough for us. They all want to be, my son wants to be a doctor. Ambi, though he wants to be a violinist, he wants to finish a professional course. My daughter wants to sing, but she wants to do her, she's finishing her BA LLB and she still wants to do her LLM or some important management course before she sings.
Yeah.
So those pressures are very hard for them.
Yeah. What is your, Kavitha, what's your first memory of having known about Dr. Subramanyam? Like when did...
To tell you the truth, I first heard his name when he was marrying my friend Vijayashri, his first wife. Vijayashri was, I knew her, and I was invited for the marriage, and I went for the marriage. I went for the reception, and I saw him, and I gave flowers. I very, very dutifully, we clicked a picture. That's it. After that, I had no news of him or Vijayashri because they were in US.
Okay.
And my career flowered out in India, and I absolutely lost contact with most of my friends. And so once in a while I would get news that she's had 2-3 children and things like that, but actually I didn't know anything about their lives till I got news one day that she had passed away due to cancer. And I think 4 years after that he came to India.
Okay.
And 4.5 years after that, then he came and called me from a studio saying, I'm doing a film project. And not him actually, his secretary called up and said, Dr. Subramanyam wants you for a song. Can you come to the studio on such and such a date and record this song for him? And it clicked, and I said, oh my God, Vijay's gone. I know how he is, how the children are. That's the first thought that came into my brain. And I met him in the studio, and that I would say is my first official meeting, because at the reception I hardly spoke to him, hardly knew him, you know.
Right.
And I wasn't really in touch with his music also, because my whole line was Hindustani film music. So I wasn't listening to much of world music. I wasn't listening much to Carnatic music either. So it's he walked into my life in 99.
99. Okay.
Vijay passed away in 95.
Okay. So when did you first hear about Kavitha? Was it through her voice? Was it through her music?
Basically through her music, because I actually later on after marriage we went through all the photographs. At the time she showed, oh no, I was there in the marriage. I didn't even.
Yeah, it's true what they say, right? You're the people that are getting married are the only ones that have no clue what's going on.
It's true. So, but I came to know her through her music basically, because I was doing a project film, and also I was looking for a voice for a fusion project.
Okay.
So I asked a friend of mine to collect some different voices from both Madras and Bombay, because I knew the professionals, a lot of professionals were very active in both the cities,
Right.
singing for films. So a whole bunch of tapes were given, and I don't even follow Hindi and things I don't understand. So different things I heard, and I picked up one song, one voice, which I really liked it and thought it is the most flexible voice which will be suitable for my fusion project. So I thought, we'll also do this use it for the film project, so that I can do this film and then start my fusion. That's how I met her first.
Okay. So my next question was going to be, how did you two meet? Do you remember the first project you both worked on? So that's the first
that was
project.
the film project. At that time, she came to the studio to sing, and later on, my children were with me also. They used to go, even now they come whenever they are free, I take them. Nowadays, because of their studies in college and all those things, they're not able to travel that much. But any important project they're participating, they're coming. So those days, whenever it is thing, I used to take them. So even for the recording in Chennai, I was doing something, they were all there. But suddenly, in the studio, when I came, I saw all the children just jumping and playing with her, and whole galata was going inside the studio. I didn't know what was going on. So I realized the children had really, had fun with her and playing. So slowly, that's how we start getting to know each other.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
And the children really loved her so much.
Okay, that's great. He was telling me at the studio when you first came and the children were playing with you. Yeah. And what are your memories of it?
Actually, I must say at that time I got used to being a confirmed bachelor, so I was a bit of a tomboy and kind of spoiled and very, very, very childish. I'm more of a mother now. Those days I was Kavitha auntie, and I was quite a crazy person. If they were climbing stuff, and I would also do that really. So I think he caught me in one of those bad moments when he really saw me being very tomboyish. But the children for me, I'm very, very fond of children, and I found these three children so affectionate. What struck me about them was they were very affectionate to me, and I kind of built a rapport. And at the back of my mind, there's also kind of a deep sadness. I was saying Ambi was so young; he was just about 7 years old, and Raju was one of those very quiet, serious. Kind of, I would say, drawn inward kind of a boy, And I saw these three children, and I saw Sita was also very cheerful, but there was underlying sadness in all three of them. And if I would go, so I went back to Bombay, and this kind of stayed with me in my heart. That these three were beautiful children, but there was kind of sadness, and there was a lot of sadness in their lives. He was a very normal person, but I could see there was so much of sadness in that house. It's kind of bugged me a lot. So slowly things started changing, and somehow maybe by the time he proposed marriage to me, I just felt that the fifth person in that slot was me. It slowly kind of occurred to me. It was not love at first sight for us. It was music, and I respected him a lot. I liked the children. But as I told you, I was a very, very confirmed bachelor, very successful in my career. And I had never ever thought of marriage at all. I was very, very happy. I have a large family with a lot of love and affection there. So I never had to look outward for love and affection outside my family. But somehow, slowly, I just got the feeling that this was all intended for me. I got the instinct that, this man is going to mean something very important to me in my life. That those thoughts started coming, and I started questioning them. And by the time he proposed to me, I was very, very sure that I wanted to be part of this family and I wanted to be Mrs. Subramanyam.
Okay.